Hello and welcome to our virtual open house for Frederick East Classical for the 2020-2021 school year. Much like all of our other co-ops and schools, we are unable to meet in classroom settings or even meet to do tours of our facility due to the COVID-19 outbreak. But we are still committed to bringing you information and to setting up interviews or virtual tours if we can. So to begin, we are going to start with the PowerPoint that we used in our spring open houses, and I will be going through it in much the same manner as we did in person with the folks that attended those. Once we are finished with the PowerPoint, if you have questions, I hope you will jot those down as we go through, and then I hope you'll send them to us in an email and we can set up either an email conversation or we can also work to set up a virtual interview. So to begin, let me just explain that Frederick East Classical began in 2017. We opened our doors on September 6th of that year for our first year. We have continued to meet through the present time, and we are a hybrid school or co-op, meeting 2 days a week and then providing resources for our families to complete the work at home with parents on the other 2 days of the week. So who are we? There are several aspects to who we are. We are today, as I already explained, we are academic, a classroom experience, and provide a community of support for our homeschooling families. We are pleasantly rigorous in that we try to challenge the students in our midst. While we do offer some fun, elective type classes, our goal is to provide a full academic curriculum for our students. I gave a little of the history, but let me continue that a bit. Like I said, in 2017 we opened, but we actually began to advertise and to seek support in 2016. But by February 1st of 2017, we did incorporate, as at that point we had over 100 interested families. Throughout that spring and summer, we continued to meet with people and helped them determine and helped us determine whether they were a good fit. And by September the 6th of that fall, we did open, and we opened with approximately 150 students. This was triple what we had hoped to start with, as we hoped to start with about 50 or 60 students and approximately 20 teachers. However, by the end of the summer of 2017, we realized we were going to surpass that goal and opened nearly at capacity. In 2019, May of 2019, we had our first graduating class. That had 4 students in it, and our class of 2020 will also have 4 students this year. We may not be able to hold a graduating ceremony, but we have had seniors continually through these last 2 years. Last summer in 2019, we were voted Best of the Best from the Frederick News Post. And while this means very little as far as notoriety in the community, it was a fun designation that was given to us. There are 3 pieces to who we are, and we call them the 3 C's. First, we are Christian. We are Catholic and Protestant, showing unity in a deeply divided world. In every aspect of our culture, we have political divisions, religious divisions, racial divisions, you name it, there are divisions. But in this small piece, of this small corner of the homeschool world in Frederick, we have Catholics and Protestants coming together who do worship differently and have different aspects of their theology that are different. But we pray together and support each other even in the midst of these theological and doctrinal differences. We do encourage all members to be involved in a local church community to provide spiritual comfort and support in a troubled world. In the current situation that we are in, most folks are turning to their churches for support, for spiritual counseling. While we do have a community support system, we don't want to be your primary system. So we do want you to turn to your church for that. Our second C is that we are classical. I always say that the classical education is returning to an old school education, but there's so many more facets to the classical education. First of all, the classical education does include teaching Latin. It teaches all of the liberal arts, and we can talk about that if you want to find out more about that. It also teaches history chronologically, but it has several different learning stages, and the main piece of the classical education is that students should be taught age appropriately. So in the pre-grammar stage, which is pre-kindergarten to 3rd grade, we want to create a wonder of learning and lay foundations for phonics and arithmetic. In this stage, the parents are asked to teach reading and math at home, especially on the off days. While we support those activities in the classroom, you are the primary teacher for those two subjects. The reason for this is that students of those ages learn reading and math at various different levels, and so it's important for you to have that one-on-one with your child, learning the reading and the arithmetic. In the grammar stage, at FEC, we begin to teach Shirley grammar, and we begin to teach Intro to Math, and we begin to teach Intro to Latin. So all of those subjects have a beginning point where the student really begins to dig in to the grammar of the subject. They would learn through repetition, jingle memorization, constantly practicing, perhaps songs. So this is the grammar stage where we want them to memorize a lot of pieces of the subject. But that's not all we do. We also teach the content. And so there's a combination of teaching the content and memorizing. But this foundational stage will then pave the way to the next stage, which is the logic stage, in 6th or 7th grade, up through about 9th or 10th grade. This is when the student begins to question and sort through the material. They're going to probably be arguing and challenging each other. These are common characteristics of the logic stage. You probably notice differences in your own children at these ages as they begin to question everything. But it's a natural process of the learning, and they're interacting with the material in a new way and trying to figure things out. The rhetoric stage often begins in high school. It can begin later, even into college. And the student begins to interact with the material in a much more understanding way. They sort through their personal beliefs, their worldview, and they begin to take ownership of their education. So the classical piece includes these stages of learning, but then also includes the other things I mentioned, like Latin and the memorizing and learning history chronologically. So that's what you're going to see in a classical education. The last C is that we are cooperative. And while we are tuition-based, we do rely on our parents to make the school days run. So in the cooperative setting, there are several ways that you can participate. The first is that you can teach. If you enjoy teaching, if you have a subject matter that you're particularly fond of, and you want to teach one period all day, make sure to talk to us about that. You can also volunteer, and that's called MASH service hours, mandatory service hours. You would volunteer in 4 to 6 hour shifts every couple of weeks. You can apply for an at-home job grading papers, is the third way that you can participate. These jobs are generally reserved for parents who have a child at home that may be ill, or have a baby on the way, have a new baby. So these are jobs that are reserved for certain folks within the community. Finally, you can buy out by adding $1,200 to your total tuition bill. That's not $1,200 per child, but $1,200 per family. I also forgot to mention that if you teach, that is paid, and often our paid positions are about 1-to-1 with our tuition. So if you have a child and their tuition is $1,500, you would expect to make $1,500 for a middle school class, and that would offset your tuition. It is called our tuition reduction program. Often folks ask the bottom line questions, what is the tuition? And so the tuition is highlighted on this slide. Preschool is $1,200. A $150 registration fee is due at the time of registration. You could break it down to $120 a month. K to second grade is $1,400 for the year, or $140 a month. Third to fifth is $1,500 for the year, or $150 a month. Middle school is $1,600 for the year, or $160. And high school is $1,700 or $170 a month. A la carte classes are not listed on here, but those classes are $600 for the year. This is based on having 2 days that we meet and also running for the entire year. So people ask how we come up with the figures, and that's how we came up with those. I often have folks that are interested in coming to FEC but are discouraged by the cost. So there are several ways that we can try to help you with the tuition. We have the tuition reduction program, which is teacher pay. So if you want to teach 2 or 3 classes, that would likely cover most of the tuition for your children. We also have what are called paid MASH hours. Once you have volunteered your commitment for the volunteer hours, you can tack on additional hours that are then applied to your account financially. So let's say that you have to come in every week or every other week to do your MASH hours, but you need the help financially, so you may decide to come in every single week, and some of those hours then would be paid. Half would be paid and half would be the volunteer. We also have scholarships that we can give out. Those are generally not full scholarships, but perhaps partial. And we will have an application for the 2021 school year. If you are interested in coming to FEC, but financially it's just a burden, you may check into these various options and definitely fill out the scholarship application. Other fees that are included in our community. At the beginning of your first year at FEC, you would have a $400 registration deposit. This is on top of the tuition, and folks often ask how this is applied. First, it is applied, very small portion is applied to a background check. A second, larger portion is actually applied to the rent. We have determined that each family within the community pays approximately 1 day of the rent. Orientation materials and other onboarding materials are also included in that. We may have a complete online orientation process by this summer, and so those kinds of costs go into the registration deposit. The tuition goes to pay our teachers. Other fees for classes, for K to 2, there's a $55 standard fee that is used to pay for their supplies and also to pay for several licenses that we use off of the internet for our teachers in those grades. We also have a graduation fee for our seniors. It pays for their cap and gown. It pays for invitations and their ceremony activities. We have elective classes that sometimes will incur an additional fee. Art classes, Lego classes, if you have to buy Legos and art materials, those can be expensive. The yearbook is approximately $25 to $35, depending on whether you want paperback or hardback edition. We also have Chick-fil-A and pizza days. Those tend to be about $5 a student. You actually order for them in advance. And then we have various field trips, and those are sometimes free and sometimes there's a cost. Many folks will ask how our day works. So at 8:30 we begin morning devotions, and we have quite a variety of folks that come in to do the devotions. Some of our administration, the local pastor at the church we meet at, and other parents come in to do those devotions, and they work on a rotating schedule. Then at 8:45 our classes begin, and for all of the classes they're going to work through all of these different subjects. When some students are working on grammar, our younger students are working on reading supported activities in the classroom. But then students will also have time in math and Latin, writing, history, science, and then electives. So all of the grades, regardless of the stage, classical stage of learning, are going through all of these subjects. There is a fixed schedule in all of the classes because we have in our K-3 department, we have music and art, and those come at certain times of the day. So there is a fixed schedule. Lunch shifts run from 11:45 to 1 o'clock. We have 2 locations where our students eat lunch. They eat in the main building in the social hall in the basement, and then our older students eat in the parish hall. And the students will rotate in and out, and we'll also have a recess time during their lunch hour. Our car line forms at 3:15, the back of the main building, and students are dismissed at approximately 3:30. And the way that that works is that students congregate in the various classrooms by their families, and then when their parents arrive, they are escorted out by some of our middle and high school students. The parents then receive their mail, which can include newsletters, returned papers, correspondence from administration. All of that is then handed to you in your car, and your student is brought to your car. Some parents ask how Tuesday and Thursday work. So each week, our teachers must have to their department chair a homework sheet, and that's called a homework assignment sheet, or HAS is the shortened name. On Tuesday, you're given various homework for the different subjects, and on Thursday as well. And what you see on the slide is just an excerpt from one of my own HASs. The students are supposed to take 10 minutes and read through the first verse of a poem. They practice the first few lines. And then they're doing page 160 to 161, written exercises, A through all the exercises. And then on Thursday, you see some homework as well. So each subject has one of these HAS forms for 3rd to 12th grade. And the students know exactly what they're supposed to complete at home and what should be turned in for homework the next day. Parents of younger children should sit with their children and help assist in these various assignments that they have. The most successful children do have a good adult support system at home. If you have younger children and you're trying to have them work on your own, it may not be as successful an experience for you. We do provide grades. We have an online computer platform system. It's called Sycamore Education, and we actually house everything on there. It houses all of our documents. It houses our calendar. As we went to complete online learning this year, it also houses our lesson plan videos the teachers have made or found online. It houses links to websites. It houses the specific lesson plans that a parent should follow when they're at home. So all of the grading information is housed on this program. We expect that each student would achieve 72% or above in all of their classes to be able to move on the next year to the higher grade level. We also expect them to complete 80% of the work or more. And that means that we realize that there are tragedies, crises that come up, and so you're not going to get perhaps every single thing done. This is our expectation, 80%. We do wear uniforms, but we keep it simple, any color polo, and then uniform pants or skirts. Yes, we allow for assignments to be modified or excused. You do have a limit of 2 per quarter, but parents can modify. If it's too much or too little work, you can add to it or take it away, as long as you are communicating with the teachers. And yes, we expect respect and good manners, and bullying is not tolerated. Here are a few pictures from our school year, and you can see one of our seniors. We also have kids learning in the classroom, some experiences of field trips. We also have our own merchandise, and you'll see that in this picture. Our first grade classroom is reflected on the bottom middle, and then we just have some other cute pictures of some of our kids. And finally, some other pictures, another classroom learning experience, some nursery pictures. We have a crossing guard that we use to make sure that our kids are safe. Our youngers do not cross the road. 7th and above do, but we have 2 crossing guards that work to make sure our kids are kept safe. So there you have it, Frederick East Classical in a nutshell. And as you have gone through this PowerPoint and the presentation, I hope you've come up with some questions. Feel free to poke around our website and then send us your questions and your time availability for an interview over phone or Zoom. Thank you.